Are these drugs as efficacious and benign to the system and as beneficial as they're being sold?
Human behavior is a multidimensional phenomenon, and our medical system, and specifically the pharmaceutical industry, want to reduce that to one single chemical somewhere in someone's brain with a magic drug that will cure it.
My advice is to start widening your mind about it and start looking about where's the truth, what's the truth that you're not being told. This is the truth that your doctor tells you, but where's the truth about what this does to your body?
As far as SSRIs or Ritalin or other antidepressants, or now even mood stabilizers and the whole panoply of medications that are now being used for children, they not only are not effective in almost every case, they make matters worse often because they cover over the feelings that the child is having. Anger can be a very important feeling, and if it's medicated, the sources of it remain, then an explosion is bound to occur later, because that's the nature of who we are.
The real basic bottom line is that the parents believe that they're helping their children, and the teachers believe that too, and because the only information they get from the media comes through the pharmaceutical industry and these so-called grassroots front organizations, and they never get a chance to hear what the actual side effects are of the drug or how much research there really is about the long-term side effects. All the real issues are brushed over by the physicians, and the parents are told that Ritalin is harmless as aspirin or as necessary as eyeglasses. And that's just patently not true.
Over 20 years ago, some researchers found that Ritalin use was associated with a great increase in lymphoma. And anything that boosts your adrenaline system creates stress and harms the whole body. And you can't think of these things as simple brain active drugs because they affect your whole physiology.
Ritalin is slightly less addictive than methamphetamine because of its longer half-life. The other reason it's less addictive in the children is because it is taken orally, and so the person doesn't get that intense rush. Now, the children have figured this out, and the way around it is they crush the pills up and they snort them. And in fact, in Sweden, they outlawed Ritalin to be given to children because there was so much abuse of it.
But what we know is actually far beyond that, and that is you are at risk for developing psychological, emotional problems, sometimes the very kind of problem you were trying to treat to begin with, for 6 months to 2 years after you stop the medication. And it's interesting, there seems to be a common pattern. It's true of neuroleptics, antidepressants, mood stabilizers, that the increased risk is about tenfold within the first 6 month time. So for example, with antidepressant medicines, you're about 10 times more likely to become depressed within the first 6 months of stopping an antidepressant than you would be if you never took the drug to begin with. The same is true of psychosis. If you take an antipsychotic drug, it may suppress the symptoms for a while, you may cruise along fine, you may be in full remission for years. When you stop the medication, especially if you stop it abruptly, you're at about 10 times the risk of becoming psychotic than a schizophrenic person who never took the drug would be in the same period of time. People need to know that. That's part of informed consent, and it's something that they're not being told, and it's being downplayed in the psychiatric literature. What psychiatrists would prefer to believe is that the underlying illness is reemerging. You stop your drug, you become depressed again, that proves you needed the drug. So the solution is to go back on the drug. They don't think that maybe it was the drug withdrawal that cause the problem. And the worst thing you could do would be to go back on the drug, other than maybe in a small dose for a brief time to make the withdrawal more easy. But it does not mean that the person is doomed to lifetime medication, which is what they're being told. That's what patients are being told nowadays.
Since the brain is an interlocking system, it's designed so that any disruption causes a global readjustment. And when you push one function, the whole brain is put under stress to adjust itself. And so you mess up everything. And the chronic amphetamine addicts end up with terrible brain damage and just probably brain shrinkage.
Who knows what adolescence looks like in the late 1990s? It is a pressure cooker for people. I mean, not just the home life, but the expectations, the peer culture, that sort of stuff is a pressure cooker. The disservice that you do your kids by buying a oversimplified marketing statement. This is going to make them more obedient, it's going to make them happier. Maybe in the short run it certainly will, but you have no idea what it's going to do to the physiology. And it's an organism that you're affecting. It's like putting ammonia on the household plant. Although it might kill the aphids in the long run, I don't know if it's too good for the plant.
I don't really know whether children are more likely to become violent in reaction to a psychiatric drug than adults are. And really the shame to that is that we don't know. You would think we would want to know, and now, and fast, but we don't. The psychiatric associations are eager to quickly deny that the drugs have anything to do with the episodes of violence that we all know about and the increasing incidence of violence as the drug use goes up. And instead they keep saying this shows that we need to be giving more mental health treatment. But almost all of the famous school shooting cases and post office type shooting cases that we know are people who were already in psychiatric treatment. They were already on psychiatric drugs. It didn't prevent the violence. It may well have contributed to it. In some cases it seems really clear that the person was acting in a way that was completely uncharacteristic for them when they were not taking the drug. And there's lots of indications that the drugs may be doing it. But we don't have the alarm bells going off. We don't have the research going into it. We have research going into trying to deny it. But we don't have people asking honest questions about, is this really the right thing to be doing, and could these be drug-related problems?
And often the medication is suggested by a teacher or by a parent, which is often more for their relief than for the child's relief, because the child is protesting some problem, either by their behavior or by their thoughts or words or by their doing drugs, but there's a distress that they're experiencing, and none of the authorities want to look at that. I personally try to go back to the school and the family and find out what happened, what's going on.
The interesting thing about the practice of psychiatry, it doesn't have critics, and the critics it does have are very marginalized. So everybody is very much a believer of this. I mean, you are a heretic to criticize and complain about the damaging long-term effects of psychotropic medications.
I'd say a majority of the people that end up labeled with mental illness, their biggest problems involve they haven't had meaningful relationships, they haven't learned how to love or be loved, they haven't found work that was meaningful to them and that contributed in a way to the people around them, but they have no code to live by. They have not developed a meaningful sort of life philosophy.
So the whole list of consequences to the child of this diagnosis that they've been given is negative. The only positive thing is that they are being drugged for the convenience of adults. This is for the adults, not for the child. There is no positive consequence for the child in this whole deal.
The other thing about our society is it's almost like we have a pedism, that we find children to be nuisances. We find all the signs of distress that they're showing, whether it's hyperactivity or bedwetting or can't concentrate or becoming aggressive and violent or beating up kids on the playground. We just find that a nuisance. We want to punish them. We want to drug them. We seem to have lost the ability to try to understand them and to spend time with them, to have fathers play with their kids and wrestle with them on the floor and read books to them, or just to be there for them. We have a fatherless society now. Or to have mothers to be able to soothe their kids, even right from the start as infants. I think that we're having a society that's having trouble with the role of the mother, and women are having tremendous ambivalence about, do I continue a career or do I become a mother? Do I breastfeed, or is that going to tie me down too much and make me resent the fact that my husband doesn't have to do the work too? These are issues that we're struggling with as a culture. Our kids suffer because of it.